So welcome back, guys. After a long lunch break, I hope I'm audible as well as visible to everybody. Great. Pooja, I am basically from science background, so Indian polity is tough. Trust me, Pooja. Science and tech is tougher than Indian polity. But anyway, it's just about revising things, right? I hope that I'll be able to generate some interest in your minds on polity. So, in the previous session, we had taken up for discussion the panchayats. I believe you now remember the structure also of panchayats, and also the fact that what is the entire concept of panchayats like, all such things, right? Okay, great, Apurva. Yashaswini. Yes, yes, sufficient. Along with regular answer writing, monthly magazine, Yojana Kurukshetra. Okay, so now let's begin our discussion. Discussion on the remaining provisions of panchayats. And once we are done, then we look into the issues concerning panchayats. What are the problems that the members face? What are the concerns of panchayats in general? And then we look at some suggestions how to improve upon the functioning of the panchayats. Okay, starting with the very first concept here. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back. Voice is breaking. Is the voice clear? Okay, no problem. So, the first and foremost thing that we are going to do is to understand the reservation matrix, right? How is the reservation done in panchayats and municipalities? So, panchayats first for SC, ST, and for women. Now, see, for SC, ST, it's very easy to understand because SC, ST reservation is based on population. So, at any level, let's say in one Gram Sabha, in this Gram Sabha, say we find that 20% people belong to scheduled caste community. Let's assume. Now, in that Gram Sabha, we have the Gram Panchayat. Gram Panchayat has, say, 20 members also. Or let's assume Gram Panchayat has 10 members. Now, tell me, what percentage of seats will be reserved for SCs in this Gram Panchayat? Tell me. 2 seats. Yes or no? 20% in total population here. So 20% seats. 20% of 10, 2 seats. Simple. So number of seats reserved with respect to the Gram Panchayat, Block Panchayat, Zilla Parishad is based on the population of SCs or STs in that particular level for members. Now, amongst chairpersons, how to find this? So, the number of seats reserved for chairpersons is in proportion to the population of the SC/ST in the entire state. So, if in the entire state the number of SCs says 10%, so of all the chairperson seat, 10% seats will be reserved for scheduled caste in that particular state. So please remember these two important points. For members, it's based on the population in that area, but for chairperson, it depends on the population in the entire state. So this is easy for you to understand because, of course, higher the population, more the reservation, right? But here comes the real challenge. See, for SC/ST, it depends on population and the number of seats are reserved in the same proportion that they are in the total population. But for women, women are there 50% everywhere. Women are 50% everywhere. So a problem would be if you reserve some seats for women, then in that area, men may not ever get a chance to get the benefit of reservation. And women in other areas will never get a chance. So the reservation will fail to meet the objective or purpose. And what's the purpose? The purpose is to ensure uh, providing the political power, devolution of powers, people's participation in the governance. Right? So we follow for women a very unique system of reservation that is on rotational basis. That is on rotational basis. Let me explain what this means. Let us say there are 6 seats A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, in 1992, we started the reservation policy. How many seats are reserved? At least one third have to be reserved. At least. Then, after 5 years, again elections. 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 It continues. Now, in 1992, out of these 6 seats, these are the seats, and this is the year. So, out of these 6 seats, how many seats should be reserved for women? Tell me. How many seats should be reserved for women out of these 6 seats? 2 seats. Yes or no? 2 seats. So, what we'll do is we'll choose. In 1992, this is reserved, reserved, unreserved. So, R will mean reserved and this means open for all, unreserved. Clear? After 5 years, now, after 5 years, if you again have these 2 seats reserved only, then women of this area will never get the benefit of reservation. So, we rotate the reservation. What was earlier reserved seat becomes open for all. Some other 2 seats are reserved. After 5 years, what was reserved becomes unreserved and some other 2 seats are reserved. After 5 years, again, this way, every area, women of every area get the benefit of what? Reservation. Are we clear on this? Or is there some doubt? Tell me. Full clarity? This is how we have the reservation for women based on rotation. We keep on rotating the seats every 5 years. And Siva, why this process? And Siva, you please tell me what do you suggest? Give me an alternative first. Dinesh, in the parliament there is no reservation only for women. So why will this process happen? Tell me, and Siva, I'm waiting. What is your alternative suggestion? Your alternative is rotation. But this is what you're doing, right? Rotating the seats for reservation. No? If we don't rotate the seats for reservation, then some seats become fixed for women. And women in all these other areas will never get a chance only to contest. No benefit for them. So that this benefit is given to all the women of all the areas at some point of time. We have the rotation. Yes, Karan, absolutely correct. Gaurav, the chairperson of SCST, this seat also rotation. Okay, OBC seats rotation. That's what we do. Sometimes in some states you will find these seats are also rotated so that people of various areas get a chance to do what? To avail the benefit of reservation. Did we understand this point? Any doubt so far? Yes, Parshuram. Amongst women also, one third seats of women are reserved. Amongst them also, SC/ST reservation is there. Yes, Silam Barsai. On other seats, open. Anybody can contest. Anybody. Men or women. Open. Open for all. Men or women. So that's there. Or transgenders also. Current some areas, yes, those areas with very high travel population, SC population, they may be reserved for SCs or STs. So SC/ST is based on population. Women, this is it. Anything beyond this, we are only going to do research on this topic. Not required. I think the explanation is sufficient for us to understand how this thing takes place. Now, one more point to know is the election. Before that, I will ask you something. 2019, we had the Lok Sabha election. Yes or no? And this Lok Sabha continues till how many years? Tell me. After 2019, when we had Lok Sabha elections, this Lok Sabha continues for how many years? 5 years, right? So this goes on till 2024. Okay, okay, fair enough. But let's assume right now all the MPs die or 400 MPs die. Something happens, they resign, whatever, right? They become zombies overnight. In 2023, if the Lok Sabha gets dissolved and we have the new Lok Sabha, please tell me this new Lok Sabha will continue till here or continue till here? The new Lok Sabha will continue till what year? 2028 or 2024? One simple answer for this. The tenure of Lok Sabha is how much? Tell me. The tenure of Lok Sabha is how much? No, I want Paulose, Sherlin, Urvashi, Siddhya to write the answer. If you are saying tenure of Lok Sabha is 5 years, then the new Lok Sabha should continue till 2028. Are we clear? Lok Sabha's tenure is 5 years. Now, Lok Sabha can be dissolved before 5 years also, but the tenure is 5 years. It's like somebody's tenure or the age of retirement is 60. Now, the person can resign beforehand also, he can die also, but the age of retirement is 60. Yes or no, Pooja? Tenure is there. Like the tenure of Chief Election Commissioner is 6 years, but he can resign beforehand. So, that is why we say that tenure is 5 years. No, Shahid, tenure is 5 years. I am repeating again. Don't try to create a controversy here in your mind. Tenure is 5 years only. But before 5 years also it can be dissolved. Tenure is 5 years only. Okay? So, this is not what happens. Any new Lok Sabha entire house gets a full 5-year chance to continue. Okay? So, I hope this is okay for everyone. But sadly, this is not the case. This is not the case for panchayats. For panchayats, if the panchayat gets dissolved before the end of 5 years, the newly constituted panchayat will only continue for remainder period. Are we clear? So, however, for panchayat, it is like this. 2019, panchayat elections take place in some area. This should continue ideally till 2024. Now, at any point of time, let's say here only, 2023, panchayat is dissolved. New panchayat. This new panchayat only continues till 2024. Only for the remainder period. Clear? Why is it done? It is done to ensure that, see, in our country, there are 28 states and the center and 2 UTs which have currently assemblies right now. Handful of elections. But in our country, there are 2.7 lakh panchayats. This means on an average 10-15,000 panchayats in every state. If every panchayat has a different time frame of elections, then the SEC will go crazy. To ensure that all the panchayats go to elections at the same time every 5 years, in case in your panchayat it gets dissolved prematurely, don't worry, the new panchayat will only be given remainder tenure, not the full term tenure, to ensure that all the panchayats are always in sync when it comes to elections. Clear? Are we clear on this point? Pooja, emergency ke time 6 years kaise sir? Pooja has read some topics. Very nice. But when we come to emergency, I'll tell you how, as per Article 83, Clause 2, the provision is there that during emergency, that's a national emergency, the parliament by law can extend the tenure of Lok Sabha. Clear? That topic under emergency, not right now. So, elections duration is 5 years. First point. Second, elections must be held within 6 months from the date of dissolution of panchayat. 6 months. If the panchayat gets dissolved within 6 months, elections will take place. Number 2. And a panchayat reconstituted after premature dissolution, this is the case, continues only for the remainder period / tenure. Okay? That is all as far as the elections are concerned. and the knowledge of elections is concerned. Done. Remainder period meaning the remaining time that was left for the old panchayat to end the tenure. Remaining period. No, Pradeep. Ganesh, as I just explained, that in every area there should be a panchayat, right? So in case the panchayat is dissolved prematurely, there should be a panchayat for that area. Elections will take place. But we also want that all the panchayats in the state, their elections should take place at one time only. It's easy for the SEC to have elections at the same time. That is why, to maintain the elections of all panchayats in sync at the same time, we do not deviate from this standard parameter. And if any panchayat gets dissolved before 5 years and new panchayat comes, that panchayat also gets dissolved at the same time the old panchayat was supposed to get dissolved. Clear? Should I explain this again the fourth, fifth time? Or is it okay for everybody? Again, explain. Oh, Gayatri, this is the third point that I explained here. Okay, okay. Once more. Okay. Please understand now. Take this example. In 2019, panchayat election took place in your state. 10,000 panchayats were elected across the state. You don't have one panchayat in your state, right? In a state, there are thousands of panchayats. All panchayats are supposed to end their tenure in 2024. But let's assume one panchayat in your area. There, the panchayat got dissolved. Now, when the panchayat got dissolved, people of your area want to have an elected government. So, what we'll do is we'll have elections. No problem. But when the new panchayat is elected, it will not get full 5 years. If it gets full 5 years, then what will happen? Other panchayats in your state have a different time of election, and your panchayat will have a different time of election. So it will be a problem for the SEC, because if this happens to multiple panchayats, then every day some election will take place in a state. So we want that all the elections should take place at the same time. Therefore, every reconstituted, re-elected panchayat after premature dissolution, meaning dissolution before maturity. What is maturity? Tenure, 5 years. If you get dissolved before 5 years, a new panchayat continues only for the remaining period. I think now this should be clear. If not, see the video again, draw a structure of that, and try to come up with other kind of options. Okay. One more thing. The panchayat elections must be held within 6 months. From the date of dissolution of panchayat, elections have to be held within 6 months. But if the remaining period, if this if it is less than 6 months, then no election. If the remaining period is less than 6 months, then there is no point. For 5 months, why to create a new panchayat, which will be dissolved in 5 months only, wasting money? For 6 months, that area can survive without panchayat. After 6 months, again we'll have panchayat elections across the state, so that area can also have the panchayat elections. So if the remaining period is less than 6 months, there is no need for elections. Clear? Kamapati, reasons. Kamapati, others. Why will the panchayat be dissolved? Dissolution of panchayat depends on state legislature. The various states make laws on reasons on which panchayat can be dissolved. It can be on the ground of maladministration, on the ground of corruption, etc. So these are reasons why the state government can dissolve the panchayat. Ganesh, in my panchayat, chairperson tenure is split to two. So as I said, why? Why? How do I answer why? To ensure peace in your panchayat. Sometimes it does happen in various Zila Parishad and Block Panchayat. Forget two, five different people. Every year, chairperson changes because members are fighting. I want to be chairperson. I want to be chairperson. So they agree. Okay, this year you are the chairperson. Next year we'll elect and make you chairperson, etc. So in some panchayats where you have multiple strong forces, groups, etc., to appease everybody and give everybody a chance, these things are done. Clear? Okay. Kamapati, the topic not to be discussed here, but just to tell you, this can be done, but it would require a constitutional amendment, and states have to agree to it. Parshuram, yes, not in the constitution. Panchayats can have their own laws to take care of oath and all, but nothing is mentioned in the constitution. Clear? Done. Now coming to some mandatory provisions. Mandatory provisions in the panchayats. So what are these mandatory provisions? First up, very important, is the fact that Article 243G, this article says that the powers, the responsibility, the authority, all this that you are giving to panchayats, this depends completely on the state legislature. Are we clear? Subject to provisions of this constitution, the legislature of a state, look at the language, legislature of a state may, optional, not mandatory, may by law endow, meaning provide, the panchayats with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as institutions of self government. And such law may contain provisions for devolving powers and responsibilities upon panchayats at appropriate level. Panchayats at appropriate level, meaning what levels? Three levels: Gram Panchayat, Intermediate Panchayat, District Panchayat. Three levels. Subject to conditions as mentioned. For preparing the plans for economic development, powers can be given, and implementing the schemes of economic development and social justice, which can be given to them, including those topics which are mentioned in the 11th schedule. So basically, 11th schedule is a list of items on which panchayats can be allowed to perform functions. So 11th schedule is just like the 7th schedule, but for panchayats. 11th schedule. This contains in total 29 topics. We call them functional items. Functional items. Look at topics: agriculture, land improvement, animal husbandry, small scale industry, food processing industries, housing, water, education, child development, women's welfare, weaker sections, SCs, STs, their welfare, soil conservation, all such things are areas where panchayats can be allowed to perform functions. Can, can, subject to state legislature. Because a state has to make a law. If it makes a law, powers are given. If it does not make a law, powers are not given. And that's a big problem, because that is why it is largely a challenge that comes and varies from state to state, because every power you give to the lower level is a power that you are losing. Understand it? It comes at the cost of lesser power for you. Now, please understand, it requires lot of will. Lot of will is required to undertake such a drastic step and reform. That is why the effectiveness of panchayats depends largely on the state governments, how interested they are in devolving these funds and functions. Right? We'll come to this shortly. Now, one thing is to give power to make prepare plans for economic development, etc. But let us say today you give panchayat the power. Okay, enjoy the power. But for that, money is also required. Without money, what's the point of all these functions that you're giving me to perform? So, for that, we have Article 243H, which says power of the panchayat to impose taxes and funds for panchayats. So, again, same kind of language. The legislature of state may by law, it may not. By law, meaning simple majority. By law, authorize a panchayat to levy, right? Impose. Levy means impose. Levy means to impose. Before somebody asks what is levy, impose. Collect and appropriate such taxes, duties, tolls, and fees in accordance with such procedure and subject to such limits. Tell me, a lot of you belong to rural areas. What kind of taxes do panchayats collect? Tell me. Okay. Uh, Taxes on land, water, property, land, property, all okay. Water done. Tell me something else. Then taxes on market fairs, taxes on cattle. They can impose all this. Taxes on toilets, street lights, mean duties, etc. Right? Fees, etc. Right? So all these, etc. All these are taxes that the panchayats can impose. Also, the state can assign to panchayat some kind of taxes, tolls, etc. that the state government collects. So when the state government collects taxes like excise tax, tax on drinking alcohol. So if you want to contribute to your state's growth, drink more alcohol. You drink more alcohol, the state gets more revenue. Please don't drink more alcohol. Okay? It was just a joke. Some people may say, oh, Byju's promotes drinking alcohol. No, sir. No, ma'am. Please. Okay. So that's it. So whatever taxes the states collect, some of it has to be, can be given to the panchayats. Then making some grants in aid. Free money to panchayats can also be given. Grant in aid, the plural is grants in aid, not grant in aids. That can be a problem. Okay? Correct plural. Placement of S is important. Now we had the CFI. What is CFI? Consolidated Fund of India, which means what? a fund in which all the money of center is kept. Then we have CFS, consolidated fund of the state, where all the funds of state is kept. And then we have an option to create a fund for crediting all the monies received by the panchayats and also for taking out money. So this would be similar to CFI CFS. So panchayats also have this option to create a fund where they can keep all the money, keep on taking out money, etc. All this can be done. Are we clear? 243G is meant for functions, H for funds. Now, some optional provisions. Some optional provisions. This is where state legislature may by law provide. May by law provide. Giving representation to MPs, MLAs, etc. Optional provision. Providing reservation of seats for backward classes, OBCs. Optional provision. Devolving the powers. What power to devolve? That's mentioned here. Land schedule. But whether to devolve power or not, that is an optional provision. And also granting financial powers. That's an optional provision. How much to grant, right, etc. So these are all provisions where the state legislature may by law provide for these kind of provisions. Okay. Now, what is part 9? What is this part 9? Tell me. No answer, only one. Yeah, what is part 5? Part 5 of the Indian Constitution? Union. What is part 6 of the Indian Constitution? States. Similarly, part 9 is panchayats. The panchayat provisions are under part 9. Okay. Now, the panchayat provisions are not applicable to certain areas. This 73rd Amendment Act is actually not applicable to certain areas. So in certain areas, you will not have panchayats. What are these areas and what is the provision? So Schedule 5 and Schedule 6 areas. So there are certain areas, districts in some states known as Schedule 5 areas. In those areas, there is no panchayat. States like Andhra Pradesh, states like Gujarat, Himachal, Telangana, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Odisha. Done. MP also, 10 states. Then in Schedule 6 areas, Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura. In these states, no panchayats. Now, if you want to have panchayat in these areas, what is required? To extend Part 9 or to extend panchayat provision, Parliament by law. What is by law? Simple majority. So Parliament by law can extend the panchayat provisions to these areas. In fact, You would not know, but for Schedule 5 areas, it has already been extended. This is called, the law is called PESA. 1996. Okay, we'll discuss PESA later on. PESA stands for Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act. We'll discuss this later on, not right now. Gaurav, what are Schedule 4, 5? Where is Schedule 4? 5 and 6 only. What are Schedule 5 areas or Schedule 6 areas? We'll discuss this later on. Just understand now that in some states there are small districts, taluks, etc., which have very high tribal population, more than 50%. So in those states, these areas are treated differently because of the tribal population and other such issues of educational backwardness, or sometimes to protect their different culture and custom. Clear? Okay. Then the states of Nagaland, Meghalaya and Mizoram. In these states also no panchayats. But in case you want to extend panchayat in these areas, what will be done? To extend part 9, that is panchayat provisions. Not the parliament, state legislature by law or by special majority. State legislature by special majority, that is 2/3 present and voting, more than 50% total strength. So in these states, if you want to extend the provisions of panchayats to Nagaland, Meghalaya and Mizoram, then this is required. Clear? Then in Manipur, so you see, in Manipur you have panchayats. There is a law also, Manipur Panchayats Act 1994. But in the areas which have district councils in Manipur, you don't have panchayats. The hilly areas, basically. And then the hill area of Darjeeling district. In the Darjeeling district in West Bengal, there is no Zilla Parishad. That means only Gram Panchayat and intermediate Panchayat is there. Clear? Then some other things, very simple. I mean, should I even write that is a point? In a place like Delhi or Chandigarh, there is no Panchayat because those are urban areas. Delhi, Chandigarh, only municipalities, no panchayats. Also, Sikkim. Sikkim has no intermediate panchayat. Sikkim has no intermediate panchayat. One more thing, the reservation, the mandatory constitutional reservation of SCs under Article 243D, that is not applicable to Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, so in Arunachal, because Arunachal does not have SC population, so there is no need for any mandatory reservation in Arunachal. Gaurav, Gaurav, Gokhale Council, basically there are certain areas in West Bengal, the hilly areas, where people demand autonomy because of a distinct way of life. So we create councils, local bodies, and give them more powers. Like if you go to Nagaland, you have these bodies called Village Development Board, town councils. You go to Mizoram, you have area council, village council, right, etc. You go to Meghalaya, you have ADC, town committee, all these things. So these are just ways to treat people differently based on their aspirations, expectations, local traditions, customs, to ensure that they feel safe, they feel protected, and they can also protect their own interests, which could be different from the interests of the area, the state they are in. Okay, that's it. Please remember this entire page, it's very important. A question in prelims can always be asked on where the panchayats are applicable, where they are not, and in case you want to extend them, what's the procedure. Clear? That's it. We are done with our discussion on panchayats. Solve this question asked in 2009. If a panchayat is dissolved, elections are to be held within 30 seconds should be sufficient. Please mark the answer. Okay, 91% got this correct. Easy question. 6 months. Yes, Hussein. D. Yes, Hussein. Back again. Sometimes you will join this section, that session. Sir, maintain discipline. The point is, nobody scolds. You are too old, everyone here, to be scolded. And people don't want to be in your bad books, right? Because if you scold such a senior kid, they become angry and upset. But somebody has to scold you. Discipline is important. Where is the timetable? UPSC will not be cracked like this. Please ensure that you have a timetable in place. Others, solve this question till I keep on scolding some of my students, which as a faculty I have complete right to, right? I don't need to be in your good books, right? So please, guys, have a timetable in place. It's very, very important for the examination. Sherlyn, yes, some parts are important. I mean, it would look nice in your answer. Part 5, part 3, etc. So, yes, not all, some parts. Okay. Great. The minimum age prescribed for any person to be a member of panchayat is 25 years. Yes or no? Of course, no. It's 21 years. One is wrong. Good old days of elimination. A panchayat reconstituted after premature dissolution continues only for remainder period. Absolutely correct. B, 2 only is the answer. Okay. Solve one more question. And then we'll discuss some other elements. Sidhya, sir, what should be read? Articles, which I mention at the end of every topic. Important articles that should be read. So please read the important articles. Nikhil, joining multiple batches leaves less time for other things like revision, enjoyment. Glad that you know. Only if some of our aspirants could understand that joining multiple batches serves no purpose. Discipline serves purpose in UPSC. Easy question. Which of the following authorities makes recommendation to the governor of a state as to the principles for determining the taxes and duties which may be appropriated, withdrawn by the panchayat? We have not even seen DPC. What the hell is DPC? Ignore it. Why will the ministry give recommendation? Recommendation. Ministries will never give recommendation. Answer is SFC, State Finance Commission, which gives such recommendations. Now, coming to fundamental problems of PRIs. One very important question. What is a PRI? Before you can become upset, what is this new term? Don't worry, let me write for you. Panchayati Raj institutions. PRIs. Okay. First and the foremost issue, the most standard problem, very poor devolution of three F's. What are the three F's? Funds, functions, and functionaries. So, devolution of these three things has not happened on time. That is with respect to funds. So, starting with the functions only, the functions are not being given to the panchayats. Why are they not being given to the panchayats? Because understand the context and the point of view of the state governments also, that they do not think of this, that improving the governance at lower level enhances their task and eases their tasks also. No, no, no. They feel that if I give up all the functions to the lower levels to perform, what powers will I have? Nothing. Then how will I go out in public before elections and make a fool of people? I mean, sorry, impress people with all these promises that please vote for me, I'll do this and that. So the biggest challenge that comes in the way of the people, the politicians, is that they are not willing to share power, because if they share functions, it is only going to reduce their functions, is what they feel. Functions. Funds, again, the same old story. Money is not there. State governments prefer spending money on subsidies, but will never give funds to panchayats to work on their own, to make their programs, policies of their own choice. You'll be surprised that all the funds, in fact, most funds, are tied to schemes and programs. So there is some kind of scheme, some kind of program that the center of state runs, and they will send the panchayat money. Of course, they will, but they will say this money is meant for that scheme only. Then what is the governance here? You are saying this is local self governance. But if all the funds are attached to a scheme only, then where do I get the chance to spend money based on the aspirations of my own people? In fact, till recently, 93% funds that came to panchayats were attached to certain program. There is no independence, right? That's a problem. And then functionaries, the people, staff, poorly trained staff. Then the absence of adequate political and bureaucratic will and vision. Very important to understand this point here, that in our country, as I said, politicians, they don't have the long term vision only to understand that if today I devolve, right? Providing, transferring, delegating, devolving. If I devolve all the parts to panchayats to make them more strong, strengthen their functioning, it will ease the burden on me also to perform, right? If your base is clear in the UPSC, think of it, or anywhere, then it's easier to understand things at difficult levels. If your base itself is weak, it is very, very challenging to understand high level concepts. Think of some maths. You don't know trigonometry, and then you are now differentiating and integrating. How will it happen? At every point of time, you need to know you have to have very strong algebra and trigonometry. So, base is very important. Now, if your ground level structure is very strengthened, then very easily can I implement all the policies and programs effectively, right? But they don't understand this only. And the bureaucracy. See, bureaucracy perceives local bodies as a threat to its own power, and it simply does not carry the mindset to serve under local leaders. I mean, ask a district collector, they won't even consider them a politician. But to be very frank and reasonable, these people are also politicians, right? You are a district magistrate. Imagine a CM comes to your office. Will you keep sitting and ask him wait outside? You'll run. It's CM has come. MP, MLAs, so much of respect. But we see the BDOs make the district panchayat and the block panchayat members waiting. Make them wait for hours and hours outside the office. Won't give them time also to meet. That's a problem. They need the respect. They deserve the respect, right? So that's there. Then one more point. Surprisingly, our governments also and people also have started believing that panchayat or municipalities are some tools or institutions of service delivery. That I have made a scheme. Center says I made a scheme. State, please ask panchayats to implement it. Panchayats are not implementing agencies. Panchayat is a level of government where self governance is there. If you want to implement schemes, hire government staff, train them. Why have you started looking at panchayat as some kind of an implementing agency? They are not administrative staff. They are legislative staff. They are people who are representing the will of people there. Let them make policies. You hire staff to implement policies. So the narrow context. In fact, you'll see that any and every discourse on panchayats, on local governance, always talks about now we have panchayats, they can implement it properly. No, no, no. Panchayats are not mere implementing agencies. Please don't treat them like one that they are here to implement your programs. Let them decide. Let them decide on what scheme they want, whether they want it or not, how to spend their own money. Then one very strange thing is you will observe this happening when we proceed, especially in panchayats, that in our country, I mean, politicians sometimes surpass hypocrisy by miles and miles. Look at all these state governments. They constantly keep on shouting, center not following the constitution. A group of these uh, opposition parties have come together to protect the constitution. The central government is saying, we want to protect the constitution. Every party says, we want to protect the constitution from others. But when the time comes to follow the constitution, how many are doing it? That's a bigger question to answer. Having elections in panchayats every 5 years is a constitutional mandate, right? But we have seen our state governments trying to find out unique ways to postpone the election. Why? See, what happens is every state government wants its loyalists, its favorites to control the panchayats. Because in future, when the elections take place to the Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha, these local leaders there can exercise influence and manage the voter properly. Now, to win the election in panchayat, see, you don't need big issues. That India is attacking Pakistan or some summit is taking place. Local people have no interest in all these things. They see price of tomato, 10 rupees, very good government. 200 rupees, very bad government. Simple. And then they associate those local leaders with some party. And they vote on these issues only, local issues. So the ruling party in states, they keep on trying to find that, you know, that good time, that viable, that opportune moment where the environment in the state, where the perception in the state is very conducive to the ruling party, where the people are favorable to ruling party, and then they will go for elections. Not after 5 years. And we have seen so many cases of them finding excuses to postpone the elections. Excuses. What kind of excuses? Let me tell you. Lack of funds. They will say, we don't have money only. No money. Imagine center says today that we don't have money, we can't have Lok Sabha elections. BJP will continue to be in power. These states will go crazy. Oh, fastest government has come. Destruction of the constitution. What are you doing? Everybody is misusing power in a situation, position they are placed. To the limit, they can. Number two, then they will constantly not give the security forces to SEC. No security personnel available. Or one more excuse, there has been a natural calamity in the state, no elections, right? Sometimes they give excuses. Caste data not updated. I mean, this, just to give you an example here, back in 2012, 2013 in Karnataka, there was this SEC, CR Chikkamat. So the story is that he was very insistent, adamant on going for elections because the time had come for elections. But the state government wanted to delay elections. So what happened was he went ahead and notified elections. That's his task. Now state government went against its own SEC to the High Court. See, what is this? SEC is having elections, following laws properly. We have not even collected the new data of SCST. We are only having the old data, 5-year-old data of SCST population. State High Court said, come on, guys. 5-year-old data is as good as new. What will be the change in population? 1%? It's okay. You go for elections. The state government received a tight slap on its face at the hands of State High Court. Now, you would think that better sense would have prevailed in the state government and they would have stopped the matter. But no, they went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court scolded the government. The very famous CEC versus State of Karnataka 2013. Don't give excuses. If the latest reservation data or metrics is not updated, use the previous data, but go for elections. These are excuses the state governments are willing to give, but not willing to hold elections, right? Then, organizational structure of panchayats is also very poor. So, can you think of any state which has MLAs but no assembly only, no body, no building? We have MPs but no building only. Unthinkable, unthinkable. But 21% panchayats in our country are functioning without any official building. No panchayat bhavan, meaning official building, which is so wrong, because without any official building, where are meetings being held of panchayat, where are records being kept, right? Some rich man's house, some landlord's house, prone to manipulation, etc. So these are detrimental to the structure of panchayats. Then corruption. What can we say? So a lot of you are making these statements that, sir, such a less salary, MPs get such high amount of salary, etc. But let me tell you, the salary of our sarpanch, etc., is very less. I fully agree. But are they really poor people? Tell me, what do you think? Poor people, suffering, right? Very low salary. Let me explain you the chain of events. See, at the state legislature level, some minister, the concerned minister, will devolve the funds. Funds are sent. Right? Very good. Funds are sent. But when the funds are sent, the minister will take his own percentage. Now the fund goes to district collector. Various DCs, people like you. When you release the fund to the blocks, of course, you spend so much money in coaching, etc., purchasing books. Time has come to take the money back, right? Give costly gifts to your kids, spouse, etc. Prove your worth that I cleared the examination. Then the fund goes to the BDO. Now tell me something. Don't BDOs have families? Don't they have kids? Don't their kids want to play with iPhone? Of course. So some money here also. Then it goes to finally the Gram Panchayat. Now let me just tell you something. In India, in our country, the movies that you show, you go and see any Telugu movie, especially the people from cities, bad people, village people, nice people. That's not always true. This is the biggest misconception. Bad and good can be there everywhere and anywhere, right? So this kind of misconception that, oh, village people all innocent, no, that's not the case. We see in the case of Gram Panchayat, what happens? These people, now you'll be surprised. And all those who belong to rural areas, have you observed the amount of money being spent in the panchayat elections? Upwards of 10-15 lakh rupees to win a seat in a ward, to win a seat of sarpanch. This means what? See, you're not going to get reimbursed through salary. Salary will be in 5 years. How much? 2 lakh rupees in 5 years. You are spending 15 lakh rupees. This means that you know very well this is an investment. I invest money And when the fund comes, I take my cut, and if at all some money is left, then for the benefit of people, whatever is left. Overnight riches story. Invest 10 lakh, win the election, get 50 lakh rupees. Best investment. Forget cryptocurrency also. So, this is the situation we are dealing with in our country. Rampant corruption at every stage. That's why, it's like that feeling that Arjun or Anil Kapoor showcased in that movie Nayak, right? I think Tamil version is, I don't remember the name of it. So, if you have seen that movie Nayak, that at one point of time, Anil Kapoor or Arjun in the Tamil version, he gets so frustrated that everybody is corrupt at every level. That's what is happening, sadly. Now, I don't want to make any allegations here, but do you have you heard of now the amount of bribes being given in the panchayat elections? Now, to win a voter in the panchayat, people are giving 2,000 rupees. 2,000 also, right? That's the amount of bribe being given to win the seats. And that is why gone are those days. Give 100 rupees, ask them to come and vote. Nobody will come and vote for 100 rupees. Or give them some packet of biryani and one quarter bottle. Nobody comes at that. The voter now knows his worth, knows her worth, that I am worth at least 5,000 rupees, at least 2,000 rupees. No more biryanis for me, cash for me. But sadly, uh, we all forget all this comes at the cost of the country's growth and development, because that's the harsh reality. Anyway, so this is there. Oh, alcohol. We need people like Shivaji the boss. Even 5,000. Okay, I don't know of that. I have seen them distributing money during elections. That's it. You will be a party to it once you become a district magistrate. Let's hope that you ensure that in your area there is no corruption, at least, because that's one thing a voter can do as an informed citizen. That's the least we can do. And these politicians are corrupting that process also, taking that power away from us also, the freedom to vote, right? Anyway, so that's it, corruption. Then 5-year rotational policy. Now, what is this? Now, see, one more thing I'd like to tell you is that the functioning of these panchayats is completely under the grip of state bureaucracy for technical approvals, for financial approvals, sanctions, completely under the grip of the state bureaucracy. That's it. Anyway, now coming to 5-year rotational policy. Now, what is that? Do you remember? We saw today that in the morning session how, in case of the election, in case of the reservation for women, rotation of seats. Now, think of a situation. Let's say a woman A, or this seat is a reserved seat for a woman, and she contests and wins the election. A woman wins election from here, seat A. Now, after 5 years, this seat becomes unreserved, open, right? This woman who has won the election, she knows very well that after 5 years, this seat becomes unreserved. Next time, when this reservation comes here, who knows? I'll be alive or not. What's the incentive for her to perform? I mean, every politician, see, before the elections, now some of you will say, sir, politicians don't do work. Agreed. But before elections, politicians come to you. They come to you, right? Why? What's the sole motive or intention of any politician to perform and work? The opportunity of getting re-elected. So can they get re-elected? Yes, if people like. That is why they want to build a rapport with the people. Scope of re-election. But we have seen that from open seats, women hardly get tickets. Women are never allowed to contest. So the problem is that when women don't contest or never win from or mostly don't win from open category seats, this lady knows very well. This is my 5 year opportunity to have fun, make money. Wow, what are these? Why to make relation with you? After 10 years, whether I'll be here or not, I'll be old, some more women will come and contest. Who knows? So it actually takes away the incentive for the elected representatives to perform. Takes away the incentive to perform. Also, it does not allow the representatives to develop lasting ties with the local people. Does not allow them to build strong bond with people, the voter. That's there. Then the problem of proxy candidates. Classic example is a series. This is a Hindi series called Panchayat. I'm not sure if you have seen this. Based on a very old concept, actually. Nothing new. Proxy. There is reservation now, meaning what? Seats are reserved. What do we do? The husband says, listen, come here. Wife, you go and contest. You win, I will be the member there. You just win, your name is there, but the husband goes and sits in the panchayat meetings, takes all the decisions, etc. The woman may not even know where the panchayat bhavan is. That is the situation. That's how difficult the sometimes the problem is in these villages. The problem of proxy candidates. This can be for women. This can be for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, some rich landlord in that particular village, sarpanch seat reserved. Now, what do? You call some of your worker working, hey, come here, listen, you working in my field. SC, go and contest. I'll fund the election. He wins, he goes back and works in the field, and this landlord goes and sits in the meeting. Now it has come down. I agree. It has come down. But it still is prevalent. In fact, for women, there's a term used. Panchayat pati, sarpanch pati. The husband, the husband will take part in all the meetings and will act as the sarpanch. He acts as if he or she has won the election. He has won the election. But sadly, it's the spouse who has won the election. Clear? Okay. So that's the proxy. And Siva, sir, proxy means. And Siva, can you tell me which year or which class are you in? I just want to know. General information. Okay, so I hope guys you know what is proxy. No issues, no concern here. Proxy is the idea that you represent somebody else. That's called proxy. Raj, for PESA we'll discuss later on. What is a PESA issue under Schedule 5 areas? Kambapati for those Schedule 6 areas, of course, but largely for the state, it's part, it's for the state legislature. Are we clear on proxy? Does it need explanation now? And Siva, are you clear with proxy? I asked which year you are in. Tell me. Oh, Sidhya, next break. Sir, oh, next break. Okay, let me finish this slide and then next break. Full enjoyment. So that's one thing, proxy. Second, continuance of parallel agencies and parallel programs. Let me tell you something. A topic like, say, rural development. Rural development. If I mention this word to you, you might think this function should be given to panchayats. Rural development, health, sanitation, all such things. These should be given to the panchayats. But you'll be surprised that our governments are not willing to devolve these powers. They have created parallel bodies in the country, parallel agencies like DRDA, District Rural Development Agency, like DHSS, District Health and Sanitation Society. They are willing to have parallel agencies but are not willing to devolve these powers to the panchayats. Not just this, parallel programs. Very good examples of parallel programs are MP lads, MLA lads, local area development scheme. MP, member of parliament, lads. Now think of this. They, as I said, are willing to invest money, give money. So what is this MP lad scheme? You'll be studying this in your economics classes also. This MP lads was formulated in 1993 and there's a limit of 5 crore rupees. The idea, the purpose is to make recommendations. So MPs can recommend developmental works in their constituencies with special emphasis. Let me just tell you, with special emphasis on creating durable community based assets on the locally felt needs like drinking water, primary education, public health, sanitation. These are all a part of functions that the panchayats can perform. Give them the funds. What are you holding the funds for? Let them perform these functions. Let them use the funds, but no, right? So these are some problems that showcase that our government show little interest in actually giving power or funds to panchayats. Then restrictive qualifications imposed by several states. So, what is a restrictive qualification? Restrictive qualification means a qualification which makes you ineligible. Which makes a person ineligible. For example, now please tell me, what is the educational qualification to become an MP? I want to know quickly. Fast, come on. What is the educational qualification to become an MP? Nothing? Prime Minister? Nothing? President? Nothing? But in the panchayats, we do have educational qualification. I'm not saying it is wrong. I'm saying if you want to have educational qualification, why don't we have firstly at the higher level? Let the panchayats learn from the higher levels, right? Various states have educational qualification, 10th pass, 8th pass, etc. Or they have qualifications like there should be a functioning toilet in the house. If you don't have a functioning toilet in the house, cannot contest elections. Hey, what's the toilet got to do with elections? Toilet, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, a different agenda. Elections to panchayats, democratic decentralization, people's getting the power, different agenda. Why are you merging these two? Then, two-child policy. Now, some of our MPs, politicians have 10, 11 kids. Now, that's okay. If you ask them, they'll crack a joke. I was in the opposition. I don't want to name anybody, but there's a politician who had once come to a show, a TV show, and he was shown a photograph of his family with all the kids. And he could not identify the names, the photograph, or some of his own kids. True story. Now, see, I'm fully in favor of this idea that we should have limited kids, two or less than two kids. But don't let these start at the lower level, right? Let the higher levels have these, and then the lower levels can learn from this. It's like you are telling the kid, behave yourself. What if your father learns bad habits from you? You are trying to make panchayats an inspiration for the higher levels of politics. Sadly, Supreme Court has upheld all this. In the Rajbala case, Supreme Court said that it's a very right step in the right direction. It can serve as an example. Example. Imagine the same story that the father is told, the kid is told, behave yourself. What if you have some bad habit and your father learns from you, your mother learns from you? What kind of nonsense do we have in this country, right? And imagine a situation in these states when these bills must have been passed, there must have been some MLAs who themselves were illiterate but press the green button. Yes, yes, pass the bill. How does your heart allow for it? So these are some more problems. Restrictive qualifications in various states like Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Telangana, um, Sikkim, Punjab, Uttarakhand. All these states have various types of restrictive qualifications. Clear? Let's do one thing. Let's take a break right now. Be back at 3:50 and we'll continue further on the same point of issues concerning the panchayats. Okay? Break please. Be back at 3:50. Okay, let's begin now. Welcome back. No doubts, no issues so far. All going okay. If all is okay, let's continue with the problems of PRIs. Next issue or problem is the creamy layer getting more benefit. So, what is a creamy layer? Firstly, see, creamy layer, uh, the correct phrase to refer to creamy layer is socially advanced people. Socially advanced, meaning elite, elite people. So, what happens is in our country, in the rural areas, 30% people roughly are landowners, and frankly, they control everything, right? And whenever you try to devolve more power, more funds to these lower levels of governance structures, you end up sending that fund and money to the rich people only of that area. So it eventually ends up lining the pocket of rich and elite in these areas. So they have benefited more. And also, very important to understand along with this is this point: the social environment in rural areas is not conducive to grassroots democracy. Why do I say this? Is because if you understand, in the rural India, there is a triad which controls everything: class, caste, and gender. This triad of caste, class, and gender, frankly, practically controls everything. The upper class, upper caste males, and that has also been a challenge for us significantly to for the higher levels of government to have the faith and trust that if they devolve more powers, more funds, more functions, it will end up with all the people. It will genuinely result in the overall inclusive growth. So that faith has not been there. Now it is coming up slowly, but still there have been a lot of challenges here. Okay. Now, the case of violent backlash against assertive Dalits, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, also not the scheduled caste Dalits only, STs also. We have seen that sometimes when such communities they try to assert the power that has been given to them rightfully, the upper castes don't appreciate it. For example, we have seen cases where there is a Dalit who is elected the chairperson, sarpanch or mukhya, and now he or she is not allowed entry in the bhavan. Why? Because caste problem. Or other members of the upper caste are sitting on the chairs and he or she is sitting on the ground. Can't sit at same level. And if they try to assert their independence, etc., then violence, death also sometimes. I mean, death and violence at what? For what? To get a legitimate due, something that you deserved, something that you've won fair and square. That's also a problem. Then increasing criminality, rampant use of money and muscle power. Oh, muscle power in local elections. So I think some of you are mentioning that there is we have seen that voting money is required. So of course, money power, muscle power, threat. Muscle power is threat. Rowdies, not the nice, cute rowdy in the movies. But the real rowdy, the hooligans, and somehow, interestingly, we celebrate hooliganism, right, through our cinema. So that's when I always say that, especially there are a lot of people in our country who are the true source of inspiration. But sadly, our cinema never focuses on those people. To ask you a simple question, when you study in your governance classes Whistleblowers Act, do you remember of Satyendra Dubey? Satyendra Dubey was a very sincere student, became later on an engineer, IIT BHU, IIT Kharagpur, and became an IES officer, ending up exposing wrongdoings in a department, losing his life. No great series is made on the life and times and the trials and tribulations of such people, but we jump on and pounce on every source of material available to celebrate the success of you know the people who are largely gundas and mawalis. So all these local gundas, goons, and there's a culture where we start appreciating them, that oh, they have done something great by giving some money to some poor person, right? The Robin Hood of the area. They are nothing but some small time hooligans whose no uh, stars are shining bright for a few days, a few months. But then again, that's the sad part, right? Anyway, so that's the use of muscle power, threat, etc., money power, bribing voters in the local election. That's rampant. Then again, domination of senior political leaders in local bodies. That's also there. Local bodies. See, as a senior politician, it is very important to control the vote bank. And how do you control vote bank? You place your favorites, your sycophants in the right positions, right? So if they hold power and authority there, then you also will be of you will also get some benefit in the next elections. So we have seen that local senior politicians, they try to interfere in local politics, which is wrong. I mean, think of it. You are playing gully cricket, and suddenly Virat Kohli comes. Not like how he played yesterday, but let's say Virat Kohli comes and joins you. I mean, the entire game is now beyond your capability and reach, right? Same thing. Senior political leaders have bigger issues to deal with. Their agenda is different. Local leaders of panchayats, of these block levels, have to deal with the localized issues. Their aspirations, their expectations are different, right? So if a senior politician comes to your area, and then he or she will start bringing in those issues and concerns which do not affect the local people there. So the entire discussion gets diverted, and even the local discussion starts moving in the direction of nationalizing the issues and all. So the senior politician should avoid entering in these domains. Anyway, that's it. Uh, sir, sir, is it okay to mention facts of violation? Yes, yes, of course it's okay. With facts. Yes, corruption, of course. UPSC asks questions on corruption. Niranjan, yes, of course, muscle power, all these words can be generally used. So in the PPT, I only write what can be used. No sarcasm, but these are genuine concerns. Parshuram, even some cases of nominations are taken back by taking money from rich people. That's also there. Buying the not just voter, but also candidates. Nikhil, people like Atik Ahmed hailed as Robin Hood. Of course, what can we say? Uh, Dinesh, how elite members benefit from this? See, the point is, if I control the village, if in general whatever happens in village, uh, is always something that I keep a very keen eye over, and nothing in the village happens without my permission, official or unofficial, then all decisions taken will be based solely on my benefit. Is it beneficial to me? Yes, good, take the decision. So whenever you are controlling a village, etc., what happens is anything done for the benefit of entire village, you are the one, since you control all the resources, you are the one who are the beneficiary. Okay, that's why any step taken is where elite people get the benefit. Shahid, education qualification. No, no, it's not graduation. Shahid, graduation is too much. It is 10th pass, 8th pass, etc. This kind of qualification, right? So these are some of the issues pertaining to the panchayats. Now, this also, brings us to think on a couple of more things. For example, one very serious concern. Let me write it somewhere. As we saw that panchayats do have fiscal powers to exercise, fiscal, monetary powers, imposing tax and all. Are they using it? Not really. So, do not use panchayats, do not use the fiscal power, imposing taxes. Why? Two reasons. Number one is the fear of backlash. Fear of backlash. Meaning what? Uh, See, if you are in a panchayat and you're imposing taxes on people of your own area, those people who voted for you, how will people appreciate it? In our country, people want freebies. Sadly, we are a part of this culture, but people are not understanding this point of view that everything free and anything free is somehow being paid for by us only. So, freebies should be limited to people who are deserving people, not to everybody. This is something that we have to understand. As a collective conscience, we have to develop this. That if I can afford something, I will not wait for freebies at all. I mean, think of it. We purchase costly clothes from showrooms and we bargain with the rickshaw walas and the sabzi walas for 5 rupees. How is it fair? It is the most stupid thing and inhuman to do this. When we are willing to smoke our lungs out, 18, 20 rupees per day, whatever the cost is, I don't know. But when it comes to someone, we'll say, oh, no, no, 2 rupees extra, I can't. It's okay. We need to understand. Same thing. And we have to understand that most people who are enjoying these freebies are the non deserving people, right? So, if the government imposes taxes, the panchayats in this case impose taxes even for your own betterment, we won't like it. Oh, we voted for this fellow and look at this fellow. He or she is imposing tax on me only now, right? So, next time, no vote for you. So, if this is the case, then I will never impose taxes on you. Imagine the situation if I tell you, if your parents keep on telling you, please study, they scold you, always scolding you, you'll be very angry. Oh, not a nice parent. Never talking to me nicely, always scolding me. If I scold you, oh, always scolding, not nice. But sadly, the reality is that sometimes you have to be harsh, right? For the larger good, for the long term benefits, these things have to be done. Sometimes the bitter pill is the best remedy. People don't understand it. Panchayat members know it. They impose a tax, people will get angry, and next time somebody else. So why to aggravate the people? Let's wait for funds. Funds will come anyway. No problem. Second thing is the fear of accountability also. See, when people pay money, they want to hold the person accountable. It's a human tendency. It's natural. It's appropriate also. Within reasonable limits, it's appropriate. For example, every taxpayer uh, gets extremely frustrated when he or she sees the condition of roads, especially salaried people. Because see, if you're a businessman, then the CS can twist and turn your accounts and save a lot of taxes for you. But if you are a taxpayer who is a salaried person, no scope for you. You have to pay the complete tax that was there. Now, and then when you go on the road and see all the potholes, you get so depressed. And where is my money going? After all, accountability. Same thing happens here also. If today some tax is imposed on the members, the Gram Sabha people in the village, next morning, a panchayat member, sarpanch, going for a morning walk. The Gram Sabha, the one person says, "Wait, sir, sarpanch, where are you going? Yesterday I paid, or last month I paid 10 rupees as tax. Why is the road not built? Wasting my money." Accountability. So panchayat members say, "Why to worry about all this nonsense? Let's wait. Let the money come from the center and states." People also are happy. No money paid by me. Let the money come. If money comes, we'll have development. If not, we were already living in such a situation. What's the big problem? So, this is the case with respect to panchayats not using their full limit of, or rather, using their fiscal powers, right? Now, now one more, and just to collect all the issues, which is also a question in the recent times, is if we have so many concerns and problems, I mean, the right question to ask is, are panchayats actually functional? Functionality. What's the use value of panchayats? I mean, wherever you look, whichever angle you look, we're all plagued with problems and problems. Political interest, not there. Bureaucracy shows no respect. The agenda, service delivery only. They are not allowed to make their own schemes. Social environment, difficult and challenging. The structure of the organizations, very weak, in shambles. Wherever you look, so many problems. So, a very big question is the functional value of panchayats, right? We have to uh, look into it with all seriousness to ensure that these problems get resolved by and large. Now, one more point is from the perspective or angle of women. See, when it comes to panchayats, you have to understand one thing, that the provision of panchayats has had an amazing impact on women. How? Positive impact. Point number one. So firstly, what's the reservation criteria like? One third, one third of the reservation seats are reserved for women. That's the criteria. That's the constitutional minimum criteria. But that is not the criteria right now. Most states, and when I say most, I mean to say 21 states have made this criteria, that they are giving reservation up to 50%. 21 states are now giving reservation up to 50%, right? Most states, 50% reservation. Okay, I think barring one large state, that is UP. UP, I think, is the only large state which does not have the 50% reservation for women. Otherwise, every state now has at least 50% reservation for women. Every state, excluding the southern states, northeastern states like say Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, which don't have panchayats only, or Arunachal. But beyond those few states, and then UP and one state, Goa, every other state has now 50% reservation for women. This actually places the Indian local governance in terms of women's representation at par with some of the developed Nordic countries and Western countries. You go to a country like, say, Sweden, Germany, UK, right, Australia, South Africa. In these countries, women in politics are almost 33 to 50%. But look at the situation in our parliament. Just to tell you, in the parliament, Lok Sabha, in Lok Sabha, around 15% people, MPs, are women, 80-85 at any point of time. In Rajya Sabha, around 30-35 people. If 30-35 people are women representatives, that means roughly 13 to 14%. That's it. You go to the states, the situation is even worse. In the states, this can range from 9 to 14%. And sometimes in some states, you'll find that for the first time, a woman MLA, for the first time, a woman MLA is being elected. So now, compared to the panchayats, 15%, almost 50% now, 46%. We just mentioned this earlier also. 46%. And currently, 46% of total elected representative are women. So, of course, this means that the scale of representation has been increased drastically. Yes or no? For 1 point. Then, because of this, you'll also find that there has been an increase in the participation of women in Gram Sabha meetings. Then, one more thing. Uh, this has been observed, and there is data to suggest it, that all these panchayats where you have women as a sarpanch, some woman is a sarpanch there, women headed panchayats. In these panchayats, the spending has been way more on critical issues like drinking water facilities, sanitation, health, housing, etc. Because as a woman who would run the family, these were issues that she would face on a regular basis. Not that men are unclean people, but we have seen that women headed panchayats more spending on health, sanitation, drinking water, etc. And not just this, women headed panchayats have also focus more on eradicating social evils. Social evils like child marriage, dowry, right? Domestic violence, liquor, drinking, etc. So we have seen that these are all some steps that women head panchayats are taking, which showcases that yes, there has been a genuine advantage with the increase in the representation of women in the panchayats and of course the municipalities. Dinesh, so why is there rotational reservation? Huh? Now what happened, Dinesh? Again, we explained this in the morning with such detail. I thought it was done and dusted point. Why this question, Dinesh? Please respond. BS. Which point BS? What's the concern? Any doubts here, guys, on the positive impact? Any issue, concern? There are two Dinesh in this class. Okay, great. So Dinesh, who has some problem in the rotational reservation, please refer to the morning video and look at it why we have rotational reservation. Now comes a big problem, or big question rather, of what are the concerns then? Challenges. Challenge number one. See, sometimes people say, lawyers normally say this, that because you are sitting in the court and a lot of cases come up, you are waiting for your case, your turn to come, and just before your case could be a case of say abuse of rights of human beings, right? Maybe some case of molestation, including involving a kid also. That's what we have come down to now, right, as a society world over, shamefully. uh, and the lawyer said that, see, you are completely in a state of shock to hear the case before you, of the details of the case before you. And when the case is just over, next case is called, you have to get up, go there and start your case, as if the earlier case you heard has no effect on you. It makes us, hardened slowly and steadily. Doctors become more hardened. They don't really worry about seeing blood, right? Same thing, as a, I think as a UPSC aspirant, we look at so many problems, say in polity, in governance, social issues, social justice, ethics paper, and we start getting trained to present ourselves in such a fashion that I feel sometimes the human part of it goes away, right? That's a very sad state of affairs when we have to critically analyze the role of the revolutionaries in history. I mean, we also don't appreciate the enthusiasm of a 20-year-old, right? Who, and the viewpoint that a 20-year-old held in 1920s, the sacrifice that he or she uh, did for the country. It's all about analyzing things, right? That's a sad part, but what can we do? The reality of life. Here also, it is not really a very nice thing to say, but it is more practical, that if you ever get in the examination any women's issues to write with, 2 points are standard problems that women face everywhere. One is the first one, the problem of dual responsibility, meaning the work and home balance. The balance needs to be maintained. Even some amongst you, I'm sure a lot of you are from educated families and all, but still, the point here is that even if the brother of the mom goes away for a few days, the responsibility of efficient management of the house somehow always falls on the burden on the shoulders of the girl child. Studies are okay, very good, topper, great, but run the family also. That's a responsibility, right? And somehow, if a male child is doing this, it's like, oh, great, amazing, such a nice fellow, knows how to cook. No, everybody should know how to cook, not just a girl child. So for a man who cooks, it is not some achievement in life, right? So we have to ensure these things slowly and steadily. So that is missing. So the point here is that despite you being a panchayat member, oh, that's outside. In the house, I want food on the table at 8. Oh, it's 8:05. Why is food not there? I don't care. Meetings of panchayats, whether you are trying to change the society by removing dowry, etc. Food at 8 p.m. So these problems are there. Also, security concerns, security threat, verbal abuse, physical abuse, etc. These two issues are very standard that you should write pertaining to every question on women's issues. Then, uh, limited exposure. See, when it comes to limited exposure, there is also this lack of knowledge. Now, most of the literacy amongst women has been spread in the urban areas, which means what? Exposure is limited. Lack of knowledge. Women in the village don't travel much, not allowed to travel much. So when you have not traveled much, you're not exposed to various thoughts, various things in life, you're not seen much. So the very genuine issue that comes is what? The issue that comes in front of you is that you feel underconfident. Literacy level is low, knowledge low, did not get exposure to a lot of things. You tend to feel less confident. You are less assertive now. Less assertive. Meaning, if there's a meeting going on, even if you know something that you can give some suggestion, you would refrain from. Why? What do I know? These men, educated, more traveled, etc. I don't feel confident to, as a woman, to give a suggestion in this meeting full of men. That could be a challenge. Then, lack of motivation, lack of support, both from family and the colleagues. Family and colleagues. So, in a meeting, if you are trying to uh, mention some point, your point of view on what steps can be taken, how should the budget of the panchayat be molded, where to spend more money, the male members may shut you down, may laugh it off. Oh, okay, okay, please, please tell her. Oh, now she's saying something. These kind of sarcastic remarks, etc., fun remarks, etc. I mean, for somebody who has come from a family breaking all the shackles of challenges of the patriarchy, and then she has come to sit in a meeting, and then you laugh it off. It does not behoove of the authority of a panchayat member, right? So that's again there as a challenge. Beyond this, one problem that you will face, and women here will also face, sadly, once you get you into your jobs, is this: accepting women in roles of authority. This is still a challenge for a lot of men. Now, see, let me just clarify one thing here. Men sitting here in this particular session, you are all educated people, right? You understand the sense of equality. And largely for women sitting here, you are surrounded by men of these kinds only, who are more educated. So you get a sense of equality. You'll go to Lavasna, you'll meet people who are all of your same educational level, intellectual level, the respect, dignity is all there. But this is not life. The real life starts beyond that. Most people you meet in your service, Group C, Group D staff, 90% government servants, civil servants are Group C and Group D staff. Now, I'm not trying to demoralize or put down the Group C staff, but understand it. Something which has never been taught, they have not seen their house also. And to tell you also, just imagine now men are becoming more and more open to helping their daughters achieve their dreams. I wish the same fathers were so accepting of their wife to achieve their dreams. Now their eyes are open. Oh, daughter, great, go and live your dreams. If you had been the same open, right, understanding person for your wife's dreams, things would have been different in your life. So that's there. So most people from group C, group D jobs come from families which have a very strict moral upbringing, wherein the gender roles are very fixed. So normally they have seen their house also men wielding authority. Suddenly, you are a clerical staff, you are a ASI, SI, and a woman SP comes as a boss. You have to salute her on a daily basis, right? Maybe that ego is hurt, and they find various ways to get around this. So if, let's say, you try to give them some order, what they'll do, they can't disobey you. They'll go to your senior, get the order confirmed from the senior. These are basically subtle ways in which your juniors will try to showcase the, see, I don't take orders from women. So this is also a concern. Now this is slowly changing, but again, let me just clarify, these changes are very, very slow. Let's not demonize anybody, because the point is that they were never trained, the upbringing was not the same, right? Like in our families, some of your fathers have changed. It took them 30 years to realize that equality, and even now look at how they treat the girl child and the daughter, and how they treat their own wife, right? So it will take time. These things can't change overnight. And also the restrictive qualifications. Now, you may say that why is this restrictive qualification specific to women? Restrictive qualifications, like say education, for example, or two-child policy, these restrictive qualifications tend to affect women way more than men. Some data suggests that this education, when it was made a criteria in Rajasthan in 2014 through an ordinance, 68% of Dalit women directly became ineligible. Because in the rural areas, this is again a challenge, right? And frankly, if after 75 years, if somebody is still not educated, it's not always their fault. The government should also take some blame. And two-child policy. Now, let me tell you something. It is not something that we discuss in some agenda of ethics or social issues or polity governance classes. It's a Government of India released document. In 2017, the economic survey was released. Economic survey. In this economic survey, the government said, there was a chapter on it. Sun meta preference. What's the meaning of sun meta preference? Now, we have come a long way from a journey of female feticide, right? Not being able to even uh, think that we would have a female child, wanting a male child only, and killing the female, right? Abortions, etc. At least now people are saying, okay, okay, female child, no problem. But still, there is always a son meta preference, meaning female child, no problem, but male child is required. Who else will take over your great family history and legacy, as if you are some uh, you hold some legacy of some great king or queen? Anyway, the point is, have you seen those families where there are four daughters and one son, right? Five daughters and one son. That's when they stop. You keep on having children till you have a male child. Son meta preference. Eventually, you prefer a son. So if you have a son, you stop. But till you don't have a son, keep on having more kids. Now, in a rural area, women do not have any control over their bodies. The family decides how many kids, when to have kids, four, five, how many sons? Oh, three daughters. We need two sons now at least. Have more kids. So if the family controls your body and family decides how many kids you have, why should the state be given the right to disqualify you from for such a thing where you have no control over. So these policies affect women way more than men for something which is not in their control only, right? So that is why the special reference here. And ultimately, you will also feel that parties are still very hesitant in giving tickets to women, or even women rarely win from unreserved seats. Yes or no? Rarely. Then, one more thing, this idea that politics is not seen as a very noble profession, and especially for women, they have always faced a challenge. I'll give you an example. Uh, Look at all the top female leaders of the country, female politicians. I mean, don't quote, say, Mayawati or Mamata Banerjee. Ignore these two ladies by and large. Look at every other female leader. Everybody is always being associated with some male member. Mayawati and Mamata Banerjee are exceptions. That these ladies broke all the chains and shackles of poverty or mediocrity and came out rising stars. Look at Sonia Gandhi. This woman, see, whether you like Congress or not, appreciation is that this woman led Congress to defeat the most popular PM India had seen in long time, Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government. But who is Sonia Gandhi? Sonia Gandhi, daughter-in-law of Indira Gandhi. She has held Congress win elections. Now I think we can surpass that thing. Look at Jalita. In the case of Jalita also, the same story. Oh, all because MGR support. At one point of time, she was earning, if not more, equal amount of money as MGR. She was an equally popular star. But sadly, we don't understand this. So, women in politics are always being viewed along three B's. Are you the BV, wife of somebody, beti of somebody, and bahu of somebody? You can say four B's also, behan as well, but largely these three. And it is very difficult for people to look at women beyond these three. That you always have to associate the woman with some male person. That without that male person, as if she could not even stand on her own. So these are all challenges. That despite the reservation, 46% reservation, we still face plethora of issues, right? And this patriarchy will take its own sweet time to go. Nothing happens overnight. You know, uh, from having no toleration, I mean, no, I will not tolerate a girl child. Now we have started saying, oh, my girl is like my boy. I mean, that's the worst thing you can say to a girl. I treat my daughter is my son. All these things somehow reek of the mentality that we have, right? However hard we try, we cannot hide our mentality. So when people say, I proudly say, I'm in intercaste marriage to showcase that I don't believe in caste. I'll say, I have done an intercaste marriage. Sir, it is not a marriage, intercaste. It's just a marriage. Why do you say it's intercaste marriage? Because of the deep rooted feeling that, oh, I am from a superior caste, but see my greatness. I don't believe in caste. Anyway, so these are some issues and concerns that uh, women face despite the reservation. And yes, there's some positive impact also. So, pros and cons with respect to this reservation. Now, coming to what steps has the government been taking, especially in the recent times? Steps taken so far. Very, very important to understand this as well. So, firstly, there was this issue with respect to let me see some queries if you have. Nikhil, most women don't even vote according to their wishes. Their vote is decided. Huh? Yes, true. Chinmay, exactly. Satish, two-child policy is available. Then how some person contests or participate? No, they don't. Either you have had kids before the two-child policy, right? Then you are allowed, or your state does not have a two-child policy. So, coming to what steps have been taken so far. So, one thing that the government has realized is that there is a very sincere and genuine concern when it comes to very sincere and very genuine concern when it comes to the training of panchayat members. Training, right? So, what we'll do is we'll train the functionaries because poorly trained, untrained staff will not be able to contribute much to governance. So, this Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, it's being done now, launched by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj in 2018-19, being implemented by it. So far, this Gram Swaraj Abhiyan has been able to train 1.4 crore functionaries. 1.42 crore functionaries, meaning panchayat staff. Trained so far. And in just 2022-23, 2022-2023, roughly 600 plus crores. So the exact amount, it's okay. I am writing it 610, but you can write 600 plus crores. 610 crore rupees has been spent on the capacity building. Spent on training. What is training? A better word for training is capacity building. Training. So from now onwards, don't use training. Always use capacity building. Clear? Because noobs, kids use training, legends use capacity building. First thing. Second, have you heard of these things called SDG 17 Sustainable Development Goals? I'm sure you've heard of it. If not, Google search for it. You'll be discussing this in your environment classes. So, what the government has been doing now, that these 17 different goals and 169 targets, they have now been categorized into 9 different blocks, 9 different themes. So localizing the SDGs into 9 themes for preparing of targeted plans. For example, now we have the concept of focus on healthy villages, focus on child friendly villages, focus on water sufficient villages, focus on clean and green villages, focus on women friendly villages, etc. So these are some of the themes, as I said, around SDGs, which have been now built. Then we are also giving these national panchayat awards at all levels of panchayats, based on how you are achieving those SDGs, the 9 themes. So these awards since 2022 are being given, uh, and they have also been aligned with 9 themes, the same 9 themes. Okay, same 9 themes. So you have now the individual awards being given on those 9 themes. That is called the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Panchayat Satat Vikas Puraskar, right? And then you have for the overall performance, aggregate performance, the Nanaji Deshmukh Sarvottam Panchayat Satat Vikas Puraskar. So Deen Dayal Upadhyay Awards and the Nanaji Deshmukh Awards. These kind of awards are also being given by the government to promote this idea of panchayats, especially creating a sense of healthy competition amongst the panchayats based on performance, right? That's it. Then in e-governance, a lot of initiatives. Firstly, the Ministry of Panchayati Raj also launched this egramswaraj.gov.in, that website aimed at transparency, right? So that is there. The idea of e-gram swaraj is to use technology, use of technology in every aspect of local self-governance. So in the e-gram swaraj, you will find that largely, as we say, it's the digitization of panchayats. So you will find that in this you have the details of all the panchayats, all the members, finance records, accounting records. If they are doing some task, right, building some infrastructure, etc., they will constantly update the progress. So they also publish the progress report. Then once an asset has been made, let's say some school has been created or 10 toilets have been made, right? So we have to geo tag those assets. So now no more this nonsense that a bridge has been built. Where is the bridge? On paper only. So we are moving beyond that now. It's getting more and more difficult to get involved in corruption now because of the e-governance. Clear? Then we have egram also. Egram is basically a mobile app, right? This egram is an Android app where you can get information and also avail facilities on your mobile phone. So just let me mention this mobile app to get information plus avail facilities. Clear? Then we have the eGSPI. So we now are pushing for online vendor payments. So what is this vendor payment? Let us say this panchayat wants to purchase 8 computers. Now this cash transactions are devoid of transparency, right? But on paper you can get any kind of receipt and give half the amount. But now vendor payments are being done online to keep a track of everything. So in fact it is said that 90% vendor payments are being done online while procuring products. Now currently 90% vendor payments. Vendors are those people who supply commodities and goods to the panchayats. Online transaction. Clear? So that's it. So these are steps that have been taken so far with respect to the panchayats in the country. Now, coming to second ARC recommendations. What is ARC? So DARPG is a department under the Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions. So, Ganesh, which goods? Any kind of good. Panchayat meetings are taking place. You want table only. You want chair to purchase. You want 5 computers to purchase. Every and anything you purchase. You have some plan to build a school. You are purchasing bricks. You are purchasing cement. You are purchasing other commodities. How do you make the payment? Online. Online. Simple. Clear? Now, this DARPG is the department called Department of Administrative Reforms and Public Grievances. So, this is the department which looks into giving suggestions on how to improve the administrative structure in the country. We had the first ARC in 1966, now the second ARC, which is the Administrative Reforms Commission, ARC. So these ARC recommendations slightly older but still are of great use even today. First thing that the second ARC says is, see, if you make everything dependent on the state government, then maybe the state government will never show the will to ever send money, send funds to the panchayats. So what we want is that at least when it comes to functions, make sure that the state governments must devolve the functions. So under Article 243G, functions, powers, authority, and responsibility. Look at the phrase. Subject to the provisions of this constitution, the legislature of a state may, by law, may. So here what we want is that let's replace the word may with the word shall. May means optional. Shall means mandatory. So this 243G is for panchayats and W is for municipalities. Clear? Okay. Then a very good suggestion was that these MPs, MLAs, MLCs, please don't make them members of local bodies. They will completely disrupt the entire discussion and will, take the discussion which was meant for local issues and make it a huge issue and shift the discussion into national issues, etc. So let's not have them as members. Then comes a very, very important suggestion. Now, please follow me carefully. Some states have councils. Yes or no? Now, I'll need your response quickly because I'll keep on asking questions and move forward. Some states have councils. Yes or no? Okay. In these councils, how many people are elected by local body members? Tell me. These councils, LCs, one third are elected by local body members. Remaining are elected by teachers, graduates, MLAs. Second ARC says why? What's the need of graduates and teachers now? And MLAs, why should they vote? The point is, just like Rajya Sabha is a representation of states, can we not have this situation where council should be seen as representation of local bodies? How difficult is it? So, point number one, why don't we increase this? So, step one, increase the representation of local bodies in LCs. Point one. Second thing, if you look at if you look at the Legislative Council or a Rajya Sabha, Rajya Sabha does have equal powers. Let me remind you, Rajya Sabha does have equal powers when it comes to bills, ordinary bills. And not just this, there is also this Article 249 which says that Rajya Sabha can allow the parliament to make laws on stateless subjects. This means whenever it comes to federalism, Rajya Sabha will have Rajya Sabha will have more powers than the Lok Sabha. So once you have increased the representation of local bodies in the councils from one third to say five sixths, remaining one sixth governor nomination. Second thing to do is equal power to LCs with respect to proposals dealing with local bodies. If there is any bill, any proposal which pertains to local bodies, their powers, their functions, etc., we want that there should be equal power, joint sitting, all the drama should be there. This can actually be the right way to use councils. And if you are willing to do this, then there should be councils in every state, because that's the right use of council. As of now, in its current form, it's a useless body, no power. But if you want to truly use it, do this. Increase the representation of local bodies. And not just this, give equal powers to councils, at least with respect to those bills which deal with either giving powers, functions, funds, or any such proposal that deals with the local self governance. Did we understand this recommendation? Please tell me yes or no. Okay. I hope now you can appreciate this recommendation also. And this can be used in your answer now. That to further improve or enhance the effectiveness, efficiency, and to make the bodies genuinely functional and useful, this can be done. Clear? Then the appointment of SEC. So right now SECs are being completely appointed at the hands of the state government. So we want that the SEC should be appointed by a committee comprising of the chief minister, the speaker, and the leader of opposition in the legislative assembly, a three-member committee, right? That's it. Then SECs should also be made in charge of delimitation and reservation of constituencies. So currently what's the situation is that at the panchayat level, currently for panchayats and municipalities, state government looks after delimitation. What is delimitation? Drawing and redrawing of boundaries of constituencies. For panchayats also, we should let the SEC be in charge of reservation, delimitation, etc. Just like at the central level, there's an independent body, so should this be here also. Then Government of India, GOI, should prepare a framework for laying down the broad principles of devolution of powers, responsibilities, and functions. In fact, we need this to happen. The state governments have sadly not been effective in understanding that there needs to be a proper framework to devolve funds and functions. It cannot be an episodic behavior that one day I wake up, some function devolve to panchayats, election around the corner, give some power to panchayats. No, it cannot be an episodic election slogan. You have to have a proper framework on how, in what stages, based on what kind of based on what kind of parameters are we willing to give, devolve functions to the panchayats. In fact, I'll tell you something. So far, the funds that have been released by the government, whenever they promise something, they will never release that fund. We have seen the shortfall of at least 5 to 18% every year. They promise 100, they send only 82 rupees. That's the case. Then, of course, enhancing the capacity building of PRIs. That's there. What is capacity building? Now you know. Capacity building means training. Okay. Then each state should prescribe the qualification for persons eligible to be appointed as members of SFC, State Finance Commission, SFC, right? Article 243I, State Finance Commission. Extremely important that even if you look at the Finance Commission at central level, Article 280, don't we have qualifications? The Finance Commission Act of 1951, sorry, this act provides for qualification. Who can be a chairperson, other four members, retired or current High Court judge or somebody qualified to be a High Court judge, person who is expert in the field of public administration, expert in the field of economics, all these things I mentioned there. Why can we not have the same kind of qualification for SFC members also? It's a must. It's required. Then, uh, SFC report and ATRs, they must be submitted within 6 months. Now, this would require some explanation. Let's do one thing. Let's end our session here only in the, I think it's a break time, right? I myself forgot. Break time. So let's end our session here only. In the next session, we'll begin our discussion on from the same point of issues, suggestions of second ARC. We'll also look into the Panchi Commission recommendations, very few, and the aim of Ministry of Panchayati Raj at Amrit Kal, some things that you can write in your answers, and some questions, and then municipalities, right? A very small topic, municipalities. Once we are done, then if time allows us, then we can also look at the judiciary, right? Okay. So far, that's all for this session. Let's meet at the next session after 30 minutes, 5:30, right? Any doubts, any concerns so far? No doubts, no concerns. I hope you are still there, not sleeping. If at all, please wake up, refresh yourself, and then come back. Atish, sir, option. What option, Atish? Life is not giving options. What option do you want? Tell me. Options for what? Anyway. Okay, guys. So let's come back at 5:30 and we'll Parshuram 5:40. So nice. Let's take a poll. 5:30 or 5:35. Only two options. A 5:30, B 5:35. Oh, sorry. Let me start a new poll. 10 seconds. A 5:30, B 5:35. $5.30 wins. Great. Amazing. Let's come at 5:30 only. No problem. And by Atish, what answer, sir? Sir, option, sir, answer. Sir, what is your question? When did I ask a question? Anyway, guys, let's take a break. Atish, in the meantime, can think of the question and can come back. Break, please.